Mr. Anand sir got his BE degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering in 2009 and his ME degree in Applied Electronics in 2013. He received his PhD award in engineering in 2017, completed his postdoctoral research work in cooperative networks in 2018. Christo Anand sir has almost spent a decade in research, instructing, counseling, and down-to-earth application. His exploration skills cover image processing, cooperative networks, electromagnetic fields, electronic devices, wireless networks, and medical electronics. He has taken an interest and presented 3 papers in national level technical symposium, 9 research papers in national level conferences, 31 research papers in national level conferences, 59 research papers in referred and indexed international journals in the field of embedded systems, networking, digital image processing, network security, and VLSI. Sir has published 10 monographs in reputed international journals. He is a beneficiary of special note in 6 engineering textbooks associated to Anna University, Chennai. He is the recipient of 15 honors and Best Faculty Awards, including Best Knowledge Exchange, Transfer Initiative of the Year 2017, Engineering Leadership Award, Young Scientist Award 2017, Sir James Prescott Joel Award, Outstanding Digital Innovation Award 2017, 2018 Albert Nelson Marquis Lifetime Achievement Award, Exemplary Information and Communication Engineering Award, and Greenpeace Award 2017 for his excellence in engineering education. At present, he is a member of 140 professional and social welfare bodies over the globe. He is a biographical world record holder of Marquis Who's Who in the World for 32, 33, and 34th edition for his exceptional commitment towards Explore Group from 2015 to 17. He has conveyed guest lectures in reputed engineering colleges and reputed industries on different themes. He has earned 4 Best Paper Awards from different instruction related social exercise in and outside country. Sir has organized nearly 23 self-supporting national level technical symposiums, conferences, and workshops in the field of embedded systems, networking, digital image processing, network security, VLSI, biotechnology, management, and architecture. He is a technical advisory board member of nearly 90 national level and international level technical conferences over the globe. He is serving as editorial board member and reviewer of 381 SCI, ISI, Cooper's Web of Science indexed international journals and 155 referred, indexed, and reputed international journals. He has set up about 87 MOUs as a chief with educational institutions over the globe. He has chosen as an elected fellow from ISCECE Malaysia and a life member from IST India. I welcome you, sir. It's very privileged, and I really feel very happy to introduce yourself to the session to all the participants. Thank you for providing me this opportunity. I now call upon our madam, our colleague Rajeshwari madam, to introduce other session chairs to the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning to one and all. It's my honor to introduce today's another session chair, Dr. Venkata Shesha Giridhar Akula sir. Sir has completed BE in CSE from BVB Engineering College, Hubli, MTech in CSE from VTU Belagavi, PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from JNTU Anantapur. Sir is currently working as a professor and principal for Princeton Institute of Engineering and Technology for Women, Hyderabad from July 2019 to till date. Sir worked as a professor, principal, and director for Bandari Srini Institute of Technology, Gollepalli, Hara District, Hyderabad from June from June 2017 to July 2019. Sir worked as a professor, principal, dean, and in charge register for Geetham University from 2011 to 2013. Sir has worked as a professor, principal, and dean for Vemu Institute of Technology, Kottakota from August 2010 to August 2011. Sir worked as a professor and principal for Hasvita Institute of Engineering and Technology, Ara District, Hyderabad from Jan 2009 to August 2010. Sir has also worked as a software engineer at Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Janapada, New Delhi for 2 years. It's my honor to introduce you, sir. I also take the privilege of introducing another session chair, Dr. Sai Madhvi, Madam. Dr. Sai Madhvi Madam was awarded the doctorate for her thesis titled Mobile Communication Through Graph Theory from Rayalaseema University, Madam is working as a professor in Computer Science and Engineering Department, RYM Engineering College, Bellary, affiliated to VTU, Belagavi. Madam has a great love and passion for teaching profession and believes in there is no substitute for hard work. Madam has an experience of 22 years in this profession. She has presented many articles in various national and international conferences and journals. Madam has been a resource person for vocational course. She has delivered several talks in various international faculty development program. Madam has chaired in few international conferences as session chair, advisory committee member, and as a keynote speaker. She has also coordinated many FDPs and workshops for the benefit of faculty and students. Madam is currently Vice President of the Grand Academic Portal, GAP, and Associated Editorial Board Member of GAP Journals. She plays a lead role in the design of a certified digital teacher online quiz, a certification program from GAP, and a regional coordinator for the Global Academic Assessment Consortium, Karnataka. Madam has authored few book chapters in the field of teaching learning practices under GAP umbrella. She is the author cum editor of the book titled Road to Destiny, which is in the publication house. Madam has a patent granted for the invention of ICS system, Intelligent Customer Service System, using artificial intelligence programming, and also has an Australian patent granted for IML data cleaning, intelligent data cleaning using machine learning programming. It's my privilege to introduce you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you for introducing all the session chairs, madam. Thank you.
I welcome all the participants to the ICPRAM. Now I request Dr. Santosh Kumar Sahu to start the presentation.
Good morning, one and all. This is Santosh Kumar Sahu from CR College of Engineering. Now I will going to share my screen that is related to my today's presentation. For 1 minute.
And one more thing, sir. Sir, you will be limited to 10 minutes, sir. So within 10 minutes, please try to complete your presentation. Okay, thank you.
So today's presentation is on robotics machine vision system for defective SKU identification using features earlier techniques. And my paper ID is ICPRA M01. So before going to So before going to details of my presentation, these are my outlines on continuing with introduction, objectives, methodology and sorry, methodology and experimentation setup along with the result analysis. So, actually, the perfect scrutinization or screening in the manufactured product is highly necessary for assuring the high quality. This grew perfectly to be inspected in the manufacturing unit. In order to rise the productivity, product quality, as well as the productivity, followed by the more profitable of the organization. And for the recognition and setting up for defective SKU at the industrial end is a complex task. So the projected technique which will be much comforting and is appropriate for setting up for designed one if the model is designed well. And afterward, the counteractive steps will be enduring at a prime stage of production process. As a result, the quality of the product can be maintained in a smooth manner. So, in order to go into detail of my methodology, my objective is recognition of defects in the product developed at the manufactured object or a defective object. And that separation can be possible by means of addition of robotic arm with the proposed unit so that the continuous process can be running in a smooth direction. So this is the methodology and experimental setup of my proposed work. Here in this proposed method, the vision system is required, followed by the particular imaging sensing element like a high resolution camera of NI1722 having the high resolution. And the object to be inspected is under the resolution of this camera, so that camera will capture the object to be inspected, and after that acquiring that image which is pre-processed by means of different labels in order to removing the noise, background segmentation and so on. So after that noise reduction and some background segmentation is performed, then after it is goes to that of the processed module, and in that processed module the particular reference data is there. That means some dimension or some features are already predefined features are already trained well, so that the process module will compare to that of the whatever the features we are getting from that of the detected object, and based upon that of the feature extraction, we will go for that of the classifying, depending upon the whatever the data we are trained as well as the testing purpose. And after that, the particular model followed by the different classifiers, whatever we are applying, and that classifier will classify the particular segment or particular class of objects. Like here we are considering the defect and the defect. Considering the this particular figure here, the particular feature extraction followed by the dimensionality reduction is possible by using the principal component analysis as well as the features linear discriminant analysis for the extraction of features. So these two are added here in order to proper extraction of features and make the dimension of the feature reduced in a particular direction, so that it is easy for us to make it a particular group of information or class of data, so that it will easily classify by means of the proposed classifier. And the classifier is classifying the particular group of objects, and after that the robotic arm is there in order to getting proper class of objects. Here we are considering the defect and defect free object. So whatever we are getting the outcome here, that will be segregate or that will be separate by means of this robotic arm. So the speciality of this proposed work is due to this introduction of robotic arm, which will enhance the segregation part easily. So the proposed algorithm which is used here for the entire functional cycle, which is I explained in the figure 1, where the image from the object like Q to be identified and captured by the image sensor like NI high resolution camera. And after that, the noise presented in the pre-processed data are optimized by the application of filters, and the dimensionality reduction can be possible by using the principal component analysis. And again, by applying the LDA scheme, all the features are extracted and data sets are prepared accordingly for proper identification of defects too. And after classification process, the robotic arm, which is included as a specialty of this research work, to be separate the particular defective object or defective screw, and that separation can be kept in that of the particular container. So this is the robotic model of whatever we proposed, same whatever I explained earlier. So this is the different I considered here for the different level of screw having the different defective parts, and that particular image is fit to that of the particular model whatever we outlined here. So considering a group of images which is shown in figure 2 here, this is the group of images in the different levels, in the different size. So considering the different group of images shown in figure 2, which is represented by the vector form of x by k, where I is the number of images and its range, which is varies from 1 to qk, where k is varies from 1 to k. And the vector dimension is same as that of the number of pixels values. So based on that, we are going for that of the preparing or following the particular eigenvector. Then we go for that of the application of principal component analysis, and we are reducing the dimensions, and we are able to extract the features. So this is the one way we are going for that of the LDL linear combination of features to be extracted by using this particular equation, whatever the equation is mentioned here. And due to this, the matrix form of transformation, that is Z of LDA, that is presented here as equation number 3. So in order to solve this particular household method, previously whatever the household method or existing method was there, so comparison to that of the existing, this particular proposed model having the higher efficiency in terms of the computation point of view and computational speed. So this is the by application of the particular methodology followed by the PCA and the LDA. So we are getting the different result in terms of the error. What are the error we are going to calculate, followed by the different principal component analysis and whatever the other methods. So this figure, which represents the calculation of errors of eigenvectors, error depending upon the truncation parameter, it is confirmed that the error is high as the truncation parameter is lower and vice versa. So as principal components, which is one thing of an accuracy in irregular, so that the accuracy of the calculation changes insignificantly with a change in the size of block table as a which represents the error of calculation of eigenvectors. So we are considering a set of image of 320 images of a screw, and based on that image data set, we are able to applying this methodology in order to calculating the different efficiency factor along with that of the error factor also by followed by this LCM and PC. So this is the tabular representation of whatever the errors in the eigenvectors corresponding to that of the few sample tests we are presenting here by application of a linear convention method, which is we are applying here, and along with that of the principal components, we are observing the different level of errors at the different test points. So in the LCM, the truncation parameter is taken equal to 1.1. And it is also observed from the table 1, the error of eigenvector is fairly high. So the eigenvectors calculated by LCM and PCs are a set of orthogonal vectors. Hence, they can be used as the principal components. And by using the LCM or PCS and householder methods, the images stored in the database are divided into learning and testing test samples. Considering the table 2, in order to meet the accuracy of the detected object, because we should validate the accuracy level also. So in order to meet the accuracy of the detected object, a cross validation averaging coefficient of identification achieved by using different learning samples which are randomly selected, and after processing the result of experiments, the average value of identification coefficient in the test sample, which is presented in this tabular column. And it is observed that in this table 2, by using the linear condensation method, the coefficient of identification attains the 96.7 value, corresponding to the accuracy identification for the case when main components are calculated by a householder method. Similarly, in case of a PCS, the identification accuracy is slightly higher. Hence, by using LCM on the PCS, the calculated value of eigenvector does not impact on the quality of identified defective screw, because here the household method, which is existing method, and whatever the linear condensation method and PCS we are applying. So by comparing these two, we are also applying, this is at the level of feature extraction. And after that, we are applying the different classifiers followed by the multi-feed neural network, linear kernel SVM, and RBF kernel SVM and LS SVM. So by application of this classifier, we can validate the classification rate followed by the different accuracy levels. And by application of different classifier for the proposed method, which is represented in the table 3, which concluded that the least square support vector machine scheme has the highest classification of 96.55% comparison to that of the other method. So by application of this, the delinquent of objective of defective screw image identification by means of LDA and PCA has been followed, and the identification accuracy was investigated. And it is observed that by an application of PCA and LDA method, which holds the good accuracy in identification, even though captured image is not undergone the production of a normalized. To achieve the lower level of intensity during the calculation of PCA, principal component of set with a large number of images, it is advisable to use the LCM and PCS, which reduces the level intensity without a decrease in the identification accuracy. So by application of this proposed method, we are getting the highest accuracy, and that accuracy within that of the 96.55%. So this is the summary of my proposed research work, and these are the reference what I followed. So any queries, please?
What are the standard data sets that you have used for your work?
Sir, actually, there is no data set is available. So for that reason, I take my own data set for different screws in the different sizes. Here, I consider 350 screws. And by making that screw, capturing that image, and again, I will modify in terms of the standard set of image picture. Then I will proceed for the processing.
Okay.
You have mentioned large number of images. Can you specify how many images were considered?
Ma'am, here I consider 350 images.
300. Oh.
For the demo, we just want to know how many images you just evaluated.
Sorry?
For the demo, how many images you evaluated? Like you said that you did.
Yeah, sir, I consider that 350 images for the training set.
Okay.
And from that 350, I will go for that of the feature, extracting the features, and go for that of the dimensionality reduction. And making the different class, suppose 1 inch screw, half-inch screw, like that, by a different size of screw, I will make a different classes. And I will make a group, and that group I make within that of the 10 group. Variation of the different height and different specifications.
Can I have some snapshots of images which you evaluated because I couldn't see.
Here, sir, yeah. So, sir, here I just make a this one of the sample snapshot of this different SKUs. You may observe the different level, different height, and different specification SKUs. This is for the one sample image I kept here.
Okay. Can you give me some significant features of this Fisher's linear discriminant analysis?
Why? Because, sir, by using this linear features discriminant analysis, because we are going for extracting the features. Here, the features related to that of the particular height and the particular skew angles. What are the different angles? Is there any defective or deformation in that skewing angle or not? So that part we will going to extract using this application of this LDA.
The thing which is really missing in your PPT is the snapshots. Like you just came up with one snapshot, but there were too many analysis which you showed in your tabulation. So that's the thing I'm worried about. Other than that, your presentation was really good.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you can stop the sharing.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So next is Kulkarni Kiran Prakash Rao. Sir, are you ready with the presentation? Hello.
Yes, sir. I am ready, sir.
Sir, you can start with the sharing your screen.
Okay. So I am Kulkarni Kiran. So I am Kulkarni Kiran.
Hello. Kiran sir, if there is a problem, we can shift to another participants. You can connect us later. So ICPRAM 15, Rashmi Patil. Is your presentation ready?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you can start. You can start sharing your
Okay,
screen and you can start with the presentation. Thank you.
okay, sir. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Rashmi Patil. My topic name is detection and classification of malignant melanoma using machine learning algorithm. So here we will see the contents. Contents are introduction, literature survey, system architecture, algorithm, data set description, performance parameters, results, and discussion. So melanoma is the deadliest form of skin cancer. If a melanoma is recognized and treated early, it is almost always curable. But if it is not, the cancer can cause advance and spread to the other parts of the body, where it becomes hard to treat and can be fatal. It can cause most of the deaths. Here, this is a form of cancer where it will be very difficult to treat if it is not treated early. Like here, I'm using the dermoscopic images. Dermoscopy is a like the microscope, but it is used by the skin specialist to find the to find the like what has happened to the skin, whether it's a cancer or not. So dermoscopy is a technique used by the specialists to find whether there is a cancer or whether there is any skin problem. So these are the examples of images of the melanoma lesions. Like it will be happening on the skin, and these are the images of melanoma skin cancer. So this is the literature survey. Here in the first paper, that is a novel approach to segment skin lesions in dermoscopic images based on deformable model. The segmentation is done, but the limitation is it's a semi-automatic. In second paper, the methodology used are the global and local melanoma detection systems. Here only color and texture of the features are used. Global methods may fail to recognize if object is complex. In third paper, that is non-invasive real-time automated skin lesion analysis system for melanoma early detection and prevention. Real-time alert system and image analysis are there. Here, it will give if we go for the in the sunlight, and if there is a lot of burning, then it will cause us an alert. But here, this is also like a semi-automatic because we have to give the skin type and SPF levels has to be manually selected. Next paper, it is on based on the deep learning methodology and local description strategy, and in this there is a low accuracy. And the last one, that is it is based on the ABCD rule: asymmetric, border, color, and differential structures. ABCD stands for asymmetric, border, color, and differential structure. So the structure detection here, that is the last one, A, B, C, D. D stands for differential structure. A structure detection requires a lot of steps and it's very difficult. So we need to give manually little bit to work it properly. So here motivation for this one is, despite of being less common cancer, melanoma is most dangerous and it causes the most deaths. The diagnosis of melanoma at the early stage can prevent the development of the disease, and its cure can be possible by simple surgical excision if it's detected early. If it's not detected early, then it can cause the unfavorable prognosis. So we need effective methods that can detect and classify the melanoma. These are the major steps in science and also in the development of the efficient treatment of the skin cancer. So objective is to differentiate melanoma from benign using the dermoscopic images. Benign is nothing but the lesions or the moles which are not the cancerous. So this is a system architecture. First, we will be taking the input data set, then there will be pre-processing, and then here we have a training set which will be given to the CNN. CNN is used for the training purpose, and SVM is used for the classification. And training plus classification, that is for SVM, it's giving the better accuracy, and this will be classifying malignant and non-malignant. Here, for training, we are using the CNN because CNN, convolutional neural networks, always work good for the training purpose, and SVM, support vector machine, are very good for the generalization. Like if there is some problem in the image, then also it works fine, SVM classification. So we are combining both. We are taking the advantages of both the images, and then we are using it. The proposed system description, this is a CNN combined with the CNN SVM combined model for melanoma dataset classification that is presented in the system architecture. CNN is trained in the combination of sigmoid classifier, and we are using this for the training purpose. And this architecture, this model is constructed by replacing the last output layer, that is fully connected neural network, last output layer of CNN model with SVM classifier. The input of the activation function is a linear combination of the outputs of the previous hidden layers, and the last layer, that is fully connected neural network, will be given to the SVM classifier. Means here we are not using the CNN classifier, and the model, both the advantages, like advantages of CNN, it's good for training, and SVM is good for classification. Both are combined to get the CNN plus SVM model. So here we are going to take the input, that is of ISIC image data set, which we get here as a malignant and non-malignant, and there is a huge data set available in the form of ISIC images, and we are going to resize them, and then after that we are going to give that to the for the training purpose using CNN. And CNN model is constructed by just replacing the output layer of CNN, and we have replaced that with the SVM classifier. And here is a data set we have used, that is ISIC data set. So in this data set, there are total 200 images. 600 images are for training, and 150 images are for validation. So training data set, we are taking 2000. From that, class 0 is nothing but benign, the non-cancerous lesions. Class 1 is a melanoma cancer. 1626 are of class 0, 374 are of class 1. And the testing data set, 600 images are there. 483 are from class 0 and 117 are from class 1. And for the validation, 150 images are there. 120 from class 0 and 30 are from class 1. This is a confusion matrix which we are using for the performance parameters. So here we are going to calculate sensitivity, that is true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. Then specificity, true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. And these are the other parameters which we are going to use for the performance, that is a precision, recall, F1 measure, and accuracy. So here we are calculating different, like first one is a random forest, and next one is support vector machine, and next one is CNN, and this is the last one, which is the proposed system, that is CNN plus SVM. This is we are getting better sensitivity and specificity. So this is a calculation for the recall, precision, F1 measure, accuracy. Here also the proposed system CNN plus SVM stands better comparatively than the other systems. So conclusion, the proposed non-invasive method is to differentiate the melanoma from the benign, and we have used CNN for the training and SVM for the classification, and they are the combination of both lead to the better results than comparative to the others. These are the references. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Reshma Patil, why do you use classification algorithm as SVM? There are many such algorithms are available. Is there any specific reason to use SVM?
Sir, actually, I have read a lot, and even in some workshops, I have heard from the experts that SVM is good for the generalization purpose. So if so, I thought like why not to combine, and CNN won't work for the classification, but it works good for the training purpose. And I have checked with the others also, but SVM is giving a better result.
Okay.
When going through your reference papers,
Yes, sir.
I couldn't see much of the updated publications. Can you show me some updated publications? Because there was something from 1970, there was something from 2014.
Yes, there are the updated for classification.
कॉन्फरन्स अरे
Yes.
बाजूला तू लॅपटॉप आहे ना
हो
इकडे बस मला पिरियड घ्याय
इथं कॅबिनेट नाही म्हणून तर इथं बसले मी
Yeah, go ahead, Rashmi Patil.
Sir, actually there are many papers updated, but these are the most we can say like they are there for this purpose. Like I'm using CNN, and here also they have used CNN for that purpose. And like that, which are the most relevant, I have taken those papers.
Okay, ma'am, fine.
Okay. Sir, any other question?
Yeah, thank you, Rashmi Patil.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So next participant is from ICPRAM 03, MC Shankar. Sir, you ready with your presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm ready, sir.
Sir, you can share the screen.
Sir, shall I proceed, sir?
Yes, sir. Please start.
Very good morning, one and all. I am Shankar, a research scholar in Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, and my guide is Dr. Vadivel, and he is associate professor in Vidya Jyoti Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Through his support, I have done the title name is called Microcalcification Detection in a Digital Mammogram using Deep Learning Approaches. And this is already many people have done with different methods. I have tried this method in fast or convolution networks in order to go for a fastest prediction of a future of microcalcification. And we can say that actually this is that what we means here in our India. It's a very significant one related with the mammogram diagnosis about the breast diseases. And also here we can say that this breast malignancy is a 22%. All over the world they are having it, and most of the in our country ladies, they are having about 17%. It is related with ASR report, that is the age standardized rate report, is telling about what is the these breast cancer ratio. That means in India, that is 1 lakh people, they are about 12.9%. These symptom has been can be detected in women's. So this one is highly dangerous to the India, because our Indian women are having a major role in a society, because they are very dedicated to the family, and really detection of these breast cancer due to the deposition of microcalcification. And when we are giving the early treatment, we can eradicate the entire things. And for that one, I have used here as my topic as microcalcification detection. And here I am using deep learning in order to get the fastest future or character detection in the mammogram images. And what we can say means here, and so the main abstract here I have taken as we know that in this one here I am doing that deep learning features and the mathematical calculation also I have combined. And but in deep learning features I have been obtained a 86.6% precision level and a sensitivity level also. And so it is providing the better performance, because the microcalcification it may creates a lesion, malignancy, and we have to focus on the malignancy because malignancy have a different sizes, and that is in order of 0.5 mm. Below that also we have to identify the such kind of sizes and its shape, but we can easily identify because it's having a brightness spot in the mammogram. And I'll explain it next slide. Here that my material and methodology I have shown here. So here I have taken the database from Minimaya's data system, and after that I have done a pre-processing. So here the pre-processing, after that I have going through that future extraction using the RCNN method. And here the why I have chosen the RCNN, that is a reason-based RCNN method I have chosen here, because it is having the early prediction of a character of a region of interest, and also it is providing the dig out the location of the future of the period where the microcalcification have been buried under the background, and which can be easily find out. And also it is providing the quick sliding window techniques, and this one which provides a QCare RCNN, which was built by Rose Grishik one. So it will, what is the main advantage of these RCNN network means it will overall, it will improve the proficiency level of a performance. That is the very important one here. And also I can say that in this one, and what means here the background can be removed. We can with the help of background modeling techniques I have used here. And how means I have taken the original image, and after that I have subtracted the original image in the background, and with the help of a Gaussian filtering method. And this Gaussian filtering method which can we can what is means we can detect the clustered microcalcification ranges also, we can measure it. So in this one, and what we can make means I can tell that this mathematical calculation of detection of microcalcification we can obtain with the help of a statistical method and a wavelet method and a discrete wavelet orthogonal spin filter method also we can make it. And also we can go for a rule-based system and a fuzzy logic system and SVM method, and these also which is used for a ROI method, that is a region of interest can be identified. But among this one I have chosen only the RCNN because it is providing the quick response regarding fetching the futures. So that is here. And so this is the RCNN network I have here. In this case, what means I have taken 970 images as a test image. So the test images is which is given as a benign and malignant and normal and training set. And the test I have taken 625 images. These 625 images are have been trained up with the help of RCNN network. And what we can say means here, and these RCNN network, I am using a 20 neuron as an input layer and 40 neuron as a hidden layer. Here in the hidden layer, I have given two kind of hidden layer. After that, 25 neurons for output layer. So here the weighted sums are which can be function with the input and output layer, which provides the back propagation techniques. So this is, and what we can say means here the micro calcification feature, that is we must identify two kind of one, the micro features. One is a benign related micro calcification features. Another one is a malignant related micro calcification features. So these benign and malignant, it is having a different sizes and different shapes also. And here the benign, the shape will be the 1 to 4 mm diameter, and it is having a round shape and a oval, sometime in a oval shape. And the malignant, the sizes are, it is like a microscope sizes, and also it is having a fine and radiating pattern shape, and it is varying the shape and sizes according to the clustering or which has been come as a numerable. So here, and the data source means I have taken data source from Mayas, mini Mayas. Is one of. So input images are given to the convolution network. And after that is given to the spatial pooling. The spatial pooling, it is provides a decision, that is a regression and classification, whether it belongs to the malignant or a benign. So that is obtained here. Another here the microcalcification or classified as a three another three kind of category also we can make it. One other one also lesion. Lesion is not a harmful one, and malignant only is a harmful cell that it will creates the cancer related one. So here in this case, 970 images are modeled as a data set, and 320 images are taken as a lesion type, and the remaining have been given as a malignant and benign. And here, so in this case, RCNN, it is focusing on an input and a lost layer, which provides the information. And another one here, the RCNN techniques, which is provide the exact features of microcalcification size, and also which gives the neural network, and also it will store the district ROA. That is important, what we can say important information about the RCNN means it provides it can restore the district ROA, that is a region of interest, and also which has been applied to the ROL pool level for isolating the district. That is a district, we can call it as a malignant or benign. So, and we are using the mathematical equation related with the accuracy and perception level. So that is it is given, and this is my experiment methodology, and this one what is this, the raw material, images have been given, and it has been extracted, future extracted have been done by the CNN first layer. After that we have obtained this is called malignant images. I have taken only the malignant image and tested on it, so we can obtain these malignant on the breast. This one, which is provides the first convolutional layer of precipitation. So deep learning result, this is the deep learning result I am showing it according to the RCNN network. So what we can say here the results I can say that the CNN highlights gives anticipate execution as for both the precision and affectability, which is used to finding out the micro calcification extension, which can occur 0.8786. That means that is related with the contrasted image, and it is separated elements which provides improved arrangement more than CNN highlights, and which shows the CNN includes absolute best grouping and this one. So here the accuracy I have obtained a 0.19 and another one precision level 0.866. So my conclusion of this one is the main objective of this work is to perform the feature selection for detecting breast cancer from a mammogram using deep learning features. The deep learning CNN, which extract the deep learning features and verifies the captured similarity between the malignant and benign characteristics. So our outcome suggests that convolution network gives suitable design function, recognize the microcalcification from mammogram images. In addition, our work can provide a future tool that could be help to direct to obtain the standard measurement for a classification of a microcalcification. So these are all a reference. I have taken the reference paper and based on this one, I have done my research work on it, and it has been executed with the help of MATLAB. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, what are the mathematical equations used to find accuracy and precision? You have not shown them in the slides.
I'll show, sir. One second, sir. So here we can use accuracy level. We can use a true positive plus. This is the equation, general equation. It is they are using in a confusion matrix also. In this one, they are finding out accuracy and perception and sensitivity level and specificity.
Okay, Shankar, what are the filters that you have used? The deep learning filters?
Deep learning filters, I have used Gaussian filters, Gaussian filter. I have used it, sir. And texture features and all, I can try. I have tried for random for forest classification. Random forest classification.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Shankar sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sir, with regards to precision and accuracy, your values are 0.81 and 0.86, right?
Yes, sir.
I observe that it is still low. Can you justify your answer?
Yeah, yes, sir. Because based on my training level is somewhat, I have to increase my training level. I observed it because, but I have to increase it. This one, what means myself, I trained it, but I have to improve. It is going on, sir. I'm still improving.
Now, telling it to be a perfect paper according to the IEEE standards, at least it should be like 95% or so. Only then it's competitive enough with the other algorithms. But still, if it is like 0.81 or maybe 0.86 also, still it is not competitive to the standards. So that's the reason I was thinking about it. And with regards to their references, again, I should tell you, like, we should refer to more research works as well, okay, with regards to recent updates and to more quality works as well.
Okay, sir.
Sir, also I would like to ask you, you said some alarming numbers, like you trained some 600 odd images, you ordered 900 odd images, and then you set the 300 odd images set apart. Like, did you really go through the analysis of these sets of images? Do you have any proof of these 900 odd images in your laptop or maybe the system?
Yes, sir. I'll show it, sir. Just a minute. Sorry, these are all benign ones there. And data set is, this is for benign data set extracted.
Okay.
And another one is malignant set also I have taken. Malignant, full data set also I can show you. This is for benign and malignant I separated.
Okay.
And I'll show sir another. Once we are the line, sir. Once again, sir.
Okay.
Micro. So these are all we had a setup. So we had a 907. These are all images obtained from Minimayas.
Okay. But I couldn't see the images, maybe because of the network issue.
So these are all images I have collected. Based on that one, I have categorized benign and malignant. That I put it into the separate data. So in order to training the RCN network, but I have done with the little one only, sir, but not
Yes,
accuracy
yes. So
level.
what you are trying to say, you should say it very accurately. Okay. So for example, if you are analyzing like 10 images, then your presentation should be only for 10 images, not for 900 images. Yeah, everybody can macro classify, but the thing is that you are doing it only for 10. So you should tell only 10 or maybe tell only 20 according to the data sets that is available or maybe the data sets which you have analyzed.
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You can stop sharing the screen.
Okay.
The next presentation will be done by Kulkarni Kiran Prakash Rao. Paper ID is ICP RAM02. Sir, is your presentation ready now?
Ready, sir.
Sorry, I can share a screen.
So, myself, Kulkarni Kiran. I am professor in Yogeshwari Mahavidyalaya, Ambazogai. My subject is robotic surgery. So, we know that the robots are there where the job is critical, where job is challenging, and today the robotics also going to assist the medical science. In so many operations, robots will make as a helping hand for the surgeons, and therefore the computer science gives the much more support to the medical science, and due to which there are the so many inventions takes place in the medical science. So in the robotic surgery, what happens? It is the operation where the robots will participate with the surgeons and the doctors till it is not a full automated process, but till doctors are required in the hall. But in coming days, there will be fully automatic robotic surgery will be possible. But today, this is not possible due to the development in the science. So in this category, the surgeon will get the complete required view of patient body through the terminal. That will help to manipulate the surgical instrument using the control panel. The tiny cameras are able to view internal organ of patient as inserted into the body. So it is possible to operate on the very small portion of the patient's body, and therefore unnecessary portion need not to be opened. And this is very less painful for the patient. Patient will get the recovery earlier. In so many operations, this will be used, for example, in areas like cardiac, gastrointestinal, gynecology, neuro, orthopedics, pediatrics, radio, and urology. So the history of the robotic surgery starts in 1985. A Puma robot 500-600 was developed for the brain biopsy. Then Imperial College London developed a special robot for medical science. Then integrated surgical system ROBODOC made in 1992. The first unmanned robotic surgery takes place in Italy. Italy's unit is more standard in medical science, the #1 unit in the world. Then Da Vinci robot takes place in 1997. Then in 1999, robotic assisted coronary bypass takes place. So this is the history. So there are different requirements to carry out the robotic surgery. The softwares required are the Linux 64-bit. Then you require the MySQL software. And to take the view in a 3-dimension, we require the Coin3D software. When we consider the hardware requirement, we require the robot with many arms as per possible. Similarly, we require the camera on one arm. It is also called as endoscope in medical science. Then some devices that are required in the medical science like forceps, scissor, etc. that also required. Then joysticks, these are the terminal devices that also required. Foot pedals, these are also required. But when we see the software requirement, we require the closed source software. That means there should not be external interface. It should be protected from the virus and the spyware. If the virus are there, then there may be the stop in the operation process, and it will be risky for the patient. We require the high quality software, highly sophisticated software, and the software must be stable. There are the two softwares or the group of softwares are required. Front-end tool as well as the back-end tools is also required as represented here. We require the MySQL as well as the Linux operating system as well as the Coin3D software. That means the group of softwares are required. So these are the hardware and the software requirement. Now, what are the advantages of the robotic surgery? The first is enhanced operating view, then easier to attach nerve ending. In case due to this operation, less body portion is to be operated, and therefore the surgeons are less tired. Few doctors are sufficient in a operation room, and there is a less risk of infection because very small part we will operate. Then as a very small part we operate, less anesthesia is obviously required, and also the less blood loss will be there, and this technique is FDA approved. So these are the advantages. Now the disadvantages is that the question remains about the safety. Then the second is training is required for the doctors. In a very less number of this facility is available in the hospitals, and it is more costly, and therefore it is less affordable for the poor. And it may be possible that there will be loss in operation skills. The basic skills, whatever the doctors have, they may be lost with the time. So these are the disadvantages. The types of robotic surgeries are there. The surgeon will perform the remote surgery. It is also called as remote surgery because the doctor is at another place and operation theater is at the another place, and the telesurgery takes place. Only a doctor will guide the robots and they will perform the surgery there. So it is also called as a remote surgery. It is generally carried out when the surgeon is away from the patient. So in this type of surgical task are directly carried out by the robotic system, but it is under control of surgeons. Today, surgeons are very less and the specialists are more. For the research, we require the more surgeons. Now, here, the types of the surgical system, the first is Da Vinci surgical system. So in this case, there are the two important components of the system. One is viewing and control console, and other is the surgical arm unit. And there are 3 or 4 arms are there along with the camera. And these cameras are having the lenses, and therefore the doctor will get the clear view in a 3 dimension of the particular portion where he wants to do the operation. So this is a very standard system. Then second is advanced US robotic surgical system. It is just like this, but it is remarkable due to the voice control capabilities. So here we can, doctor can give the voice commands also to perform the operations. So this method is used to carry out a complex, difficult microsurgical operations. And with this surgical system, it is possible and it is successful also. Then the third is AIS of robotic surgical system. So it is an automated one. It is more automatic. Therefore, it is a simple as compared to the first surgical system. It uses the endoscope. Endoscope means the camera. In a medical science, it is called as an endoscope. So that will act as a surgical camera. Endoscope means the surgical camera. Now, shared control robotic surgical system. So it uses the concept of active constraints. It allows for defining the region of patient body. So this method is more safe. It is closed, boundary or forbidden. It is possible for surgeon to concentrate on the safe region. So it is the most advanced robotics, surgical robotic system. And here number of doctors are involved are more and from the different parts of the country. Supervisory control system. In this method, the procedure is slowly done by the computer from the predetermined plan. So it is an automatic one. It follows the specific sets of instructions. So their surgeon is just have to create the specific sets of instruction, and once the instruction will be given, the task of the surgeon will be finished. All things are done automatically. Surgeon is just have to input the data into the robot, and the step by step, all these things will occur frequently, and there is no need to consider the other things for the surgeon. He just have to relax after giving the number of instruction in a specific format, in a specific way to the system. Now the conclusion is that the new technology of the robotic surgery makes the healthcare facility advance, giving the fast speed, giving the accuracy, giving the fast recovery to the patient, and the main important thing is that the low pain. So everyone want to less pain, and this is possible due to the robotic surgery. So it also reduces the operative morbidity. It also reduces the hospital stay. Everyone want to recover earlier, and all these benefits. But the important thing is that it is with the increased expense. The patient have to pay more. So it is advanced over the conventional therapy, but it should be reached to the poor also. That is the important, that the benefit of the technology should get everyone. Every patient is having the right to get this. So this is the conclusion, and after the result, the robotic surgery is found useful where the surgeons is in trouble to access through the conventional therapy in a laparoscopic procedures. So it is clear that when the human ability stops, the robotic ability starts. When the robotic ability stop, then the human ability starts. Means it is the skill of doctor to make the efficient use of the technology so that the maximum number of operations should get successful along with the less pain. So if the human ability and the robotic ability will combine with the in a medical science, we will get the very nice performance, and in any critical conditions we will recover by using the robotics and along with the less pain, which is remarkable. The basic skills of the operation should not lose with the time. So this is also possible. When the technology comes, we will become the dependent of the technology. And once we will become the dependent of the technology, we cannot try our old methods of operations. And therefore, as the doctors are not in the practice, surgeons are not in the practice, with the time, there may be possibility that whatever the basic skills they have for the operation, they should lose with the time. So this is also one of the important threats which I mentioned in a result. So I will take these number of references there from which I will make this subject. I am from the computer science, but till I am doing the PhD in computer science, taking the robotics subject. So I will feel better that I will take this subject. So if any query,
Yeah, Mr. Kulkarni,
yes, sir.
your explanation should be integrated with some latest technologies like how artificial intelligence techniques and all will be used in this robotic surgery, because this is the old concept, and whatever the explanation I have given, I think from 2010 onwards, we'll be going to have such type of discussions, right? This is my suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Professor
Actually,
Kulkarni,
sir, I am doing PhD in robotics. So I will take this subject and include in artificial intelligence area. Yes, sir. Any doubt?
Professor Kulkarni, your presentation, I feel, is too general to be presented in a conference. Whenever you are trying
Sir,
to.
I am from computer science.
Okay.
So so it is the medical science. So it is difficult for me to collect the correct information. Information is valid, but till some work will be remains. Thank you for accepting my papers.
Okay. Can you go to the first slide, please?
First slide.
First slide, yes.
Yes, this is the introduction slide. First slide is my introduction.
Title slide. I mean the title slide.
Robotic surgery.
Yes, okay. So when you're talking about this robotic surgery, when you are trying to Google it up in the internet, then we have like several papers coming through with regards to robotic surgery. So what innovation you did with respect to robotic surgery is what the panel members will be expecting from you. So that's the key point that you should focus it up in the upcoming presentations. And also with regards to references, they were really very basic references. So you should maybe go for really good IEEE transactions, maybe IEEE symposia or maybe proceedings, maybe IEEE conferences, Spring Elsevier, Wiley publications. You should really have a look onto it. Only then you can jump to a conclusion. Okay, so when with regards to acceptance of the
Okay,
paper, maybe they would have accepted the paper, keeping in mind maybe you would bring something innovative out of the project. But maybe in the forthcoming presentations, we recommend you to uh, present something innovative out of new technology. Okay, thank you.
sir, it is not innovative but informative, surely.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you can stop the sharing of the screen. The next presentation will be done by Hansel KA, paper ID ICPRAM05. Sir, is your presentation ready?
Yes, ready.
You can start sharing your screen, sir.
But I think the screen still is existing.
One second, sir. So, Kulkarni, sir, you can stop the sharing of your screen. Now you can, I think so.
Is the screen? Is the screen? Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
The screen is.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon, all. I am here with my review paper, State of the Art Techniques to Detect Apple Fruits Scab Disease by Pattern Recognition. Myself, I'm Ashwin PV, and I am the author, and I have my co-author, Dr. Ansel K. So, going to the introduction. See, India is called the land of villages, and why it is called land of villages is because the majority economy of India comes.
Kindly protect your phone. Actually,
Okay.
it's not visible.
Okay.
Kindly rotate your phone.
Is it clear?
This is okay. Kindly rotate your phone. So that.
Is it okay now?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, kindly. Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
Yeah, continue with your
Yes, yes.
presentation.
Okay, so agriculture. See, most of the economic comes from the agriculture sector, and and after 1960s, after the Green Revolution, after 1960, after Revolution, it was seen. So just a second, I have some issue here. See, Just a minute. Yes. Okay. So in 1960s, after the Green Revolution, there was a huge increase in the production in India, but still the population of India is growing, and now we are the second populous country in the world, and the demand for agriculture product is ever increasing. And one of the reason.
Answer, sir. Your presentation is not visible. Kindly see it once.
That is what. Is it now visible now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. So in 1960s, the demand was, the production was increased through Green Revolution. But later in 2000, we can see that the demand for agriculture product is increasing. And now the farmers are growing more crops, but we are not able to match the demand. And one of the reason is to match the demand is to reduce the infections, the plant infections, that is a major issue in the agriculture sector now. So taking that into consideration, I took apple as my plant and infection, and taking Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh as two most prone area for apple crop issues. So taking image processing technology into consideration and detecting these disease initially, so that preventive measures can be taken, and that can reduce the loss incurred by the farmers. That was the motivation behind this paper. And the methodology is the basic methodology that used for image processing is data set preparation, image segmentation, feature extraction, training, testing by a classifier. And here we take the healthy apple images as well as unhealthy apple images, and the training and testing for this apple images are done, and feature extraction is done for these images, and then after feature extraction, classification is done. This slide shows the various apple diseases that the apple tree is prone to. The basic three diseases that apple tree is prone to is scab, blotch, and rot. And I'm taking scab disease because the most papers are on scab disease. So I took scab as my reference. So scab disease is a fungal disease caused by the fungus Venturaria equilaxis. And this is the symptom of this disease is evident in the lesions, like it's an olive green type lesion that comes on the leaf, as well as disfiguring of apple fruit. And there are lesions also on the twigs of the apple tree. So with these lesions, we can confirm that the tree is subjected to scab. But if initially the detection is done, there are preventive measures so that the apple can be saved from the infections. So, and this is an epidemic. So if one tree gets this, it will be spread to all trees in that particular cat. So to prevent that, we have, so we can detect this scab in the initial state. So for this, various techniques are used. So I consider 5 techniques from various references. So they have used the same methodology of image segmentation. So image segmentation is a process of correctly classifying the area, segmenting the area, and specifying the region of interest, so that the procedures has to be done in the segment of interest only. So we have many types of algorithms we use, like region growing, thresholding, k-means clustering, and fuzzy p-mean clustering. So these using these types of clustering and segmentation methods, we segment these images in the pre-processing stages to provide a data set for feature extraction. In the feature extraction, it is a method of dimensionality reduction of raw data to a manageable group for processing. So actually in feature extraction, what we do is we convert the features into new features, and these new features have the ability to contain the information of that image in a better way. So that is the feature extraction method. So in this paper, we have taken different feature extraction method and compared its accuracy, the training accuracy of these feature extraction methods. The first feature extraction method is local binary pattern. In a local binary pattern, what you do is when you take an image, and the 8 neighborhood of the particular taken image, and you take the pixel and the 8 neighborhood values are considered, and it is compared with the middle value. That is, in this particular example, you can see if the 90 is the middle value, you compare with the 8 neighborhood, and if the value is above the value, you will put 1. If it is below the value, you put 0, and you get a new matrix with the binary values of this process. And you take the clockwise sequence and you convert it to a binary sequence. In this particular sequence, it is 10001101. It is decimal value is 141. So instead of 90, you put 141. Thereby, each pixel is substituted with a grayscale value that ranges from 0 to 255. But since the range is high and there are different values, we classify the LBBP into 2 methods, uniform LBBP and non-uniform LBBP. So LBBP is uniform or non-uniform according to the representation of the binary values. If there is one odd transition, it becomes non-uniform. If it is even transitions, it becomes uniform. So uniform, and in 0 to 255 range, there is 58 uniform transition and rest is non-uniform. So what we do is, in order to represent the LBP into the histogram, we convert these uniform values ranging from 0 to 58 as such, and those values which is above 58 is maintained as 58, so that the histogram representation becomes simpler. And the next, this is a method of feature extraction that we use. Another extraction is completed local binary pattern, wherein the negative values are also considered, that the center values compared to the neighborhood, and the value is lesser, then that value is represented minus, and those are same as 0 and above is 1. So it have a better accuracy when you go for complete local binary pattern. And the next one is called the global color histogram. It is another feature extraction techniques for color images, where similar pixels are counted and it is represented as a histogram, and quantization and normalization as uniform is done to decrease scaling by the number of distinct colors. So number of distinct colors are reduced, but the color images are considered to get better accuracy of features. One of the modern technique that is used is Zernike moments. In Zernike moment method, the image shape descriptors or image features are mathematically modeled using a polynomial function called Zernike polynomial, in which the images are converted to another orthogonal basis in a circular method, in which a circular representation of these image values are done. There are 2 methods, in-circle method and out-circle methods. To consider edges, we go for the out-circle method. So using the Zernike moment method, you have some advantages like rotation invariance, a high accuracy of detailed shapes, less redundancy, and much better image reconstruction. The last method which I took is blob analysis. A blob is called a lump, that is in an image. If you have a particular area or region of interest that you have to consider for your feature extraction, then you decide that as a lump or it is a blob, and then you do the left to right scanning, and in this left to right scanning, you find out with the direction, position, length, area, number. With these particular features, you represent the area where the lump is present. So thereby the blobs are identified. In one particular image, you can have number of blobs. So thereby it is another method of feature extraction. So considering these different methods for Apple's CAP, which I got through the references, I took the accuracy, and here the accuracy was based upon the simple formula, correctly classified images divided by total number of images used for training. And according to this, training accuracy was compared, and it was seen that in local binary pattern, the accuracy was 93%, and complete local, it increased to 93.75%. And Zernike moment has the highest accuracy of 97.5%, and blob analysis had a lesser accuracy of 91.6%, and GCH had an accuracy of 95.94%. So here I would like to conclude this, because this particular paper had an issue, because I wanted to do it specifically on Apple. So there was a shortage of articles and documents in Apple's CAP. So I had to take a range of references from very back here also. So that is a disadvantage I feel in this paper. But I wanted, because my research was on particularly Apple, so I had to consider this range. So from all these, there was also a small problem with the data set, because data set ranged from 120 to 335 data set. It was not very equal, but the range was some 180 to 335. So the data set that was used for different feature extraction was a bit different. So there will be a bit difference in the calculation of accuracy. So then in conclusion, it was seen that using of these different methods of feature extraction, different accuracies are obtained, and if you are fusing these together, better accuracy can be achieved. These are my references. Thank you. Hello.
Okay. So with regards to your presentation, I couldn't see your simulation results. Can you show some of the simulation results which you obtained using this project?
Sir, unfortunately, I was outstation and my lap is at my hometown. So I got this message only on Friday. So I couldn't, because in this COVID, I could not take my laptop. That is why I was sending in the mobile phone. So the simulation results and other paper references is with the lab. So I'm afraid I couldn't show you that.
Okay, so you have completed the entire project, sir?
It is not my project, sir. It is a comparison of few papers based upon Apple's CAP, because actually I thought my research was to have initially a change, but initially my research was on to find out snake bite, because I belong to Kerala. So my initial idea was to find out whether the bite pattern of venomous and non-venomous snake can be identified or can be detected. So actually that is where I started my research. So I had some because in Kerala we had two experts in this area which is related to me. So one lady got Padma Shri, Lakshmi Apputti Amma. So she had treated 1,500 bites. So I talked with her, so she can identify with her eyes whether it is a venomous or non-venomous bite. So I thought, why can't we convert that to machine learning or artificial intelligence and train our thing. So, but later when I started into the research, there was a huge problem data set, non-availability of data set. So my guide asked me to start with Apple's CAP, where similar patterns of bite of insect bites can be. So I took Apple's CAP as my reference. So during those reference time, I took this literature survey. So I know that it is not very specific with today's thing, because the work is not happening in these areas. Very rarely works are be happening in deep learning and convolutional neural networks. So to present a review paper, I had to take these references. So this is a referential comparison rather than my work.
Okay, so what you call it to be a comprehensive assessment, right?
Yes, yes, that is what I really wanted to present.
Okay, okay. Maybe in the future, maybe you could focus.
No, no. Actually, I'm trying with now. I have taken animal recognition, and now I am doing an modeling with CNN. I'm doing in that way. Now I have my own model, but it is halfway because there was an issue with YOLO because YOLO detection algorithm had some issue with the LAPS specification. So I need to buy a higher LAP. So there my research has been stopped because I need to buy i7. So I have ordered that. So I have been doing in CNN now. CNN and deep learning. But this particular paper is a bit old, but I just wanted to present because there is no other paper in Apple's CAB. If you search with Science Direct or anywhere, there are very limited papers on these apps, especially because in India we have a huge lot of scope because we have a huge lot of foreign economy from Apple export. So it is a very much useful area in India. So that is why I use Apple.
Okay, fine. I would like to look forward for your complete presentation, maybe in the future.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next person or the next participant is Dr. Kaushik Hirial Ravi. Sorry. And the paper ID is ICPRAM08.
Yes, sir.
So you can start sharing your screen. Thank you.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Hello, myself, Dr. Kapil Ravia, and I have present this in this day's implementation of DCT readability watermarking method of different custom image against several attacks. Because watermarking is more important nowadays. There is in internet ways, watermarking is more important. This is the outline, abstract, introduction, and implementation, experimental result, comparison, conclusion, and references. Digital watermarking provide high quality, powerful image. 1 minute, sir. Okay. Digital watermarking provides a high quality and powerful solution to copyright issue. Digital watermarking is one of the ways to protect illegal copying of the image data. Here, our powerful and unremarkable digital watermarking technique, we used one algorithm. This is the combination of discrete cosine transform and discrete wavelet transform. This is the one of domain, and this is DCT and DWT is work in frequency domain. There is a time domain, frequency domain. Two domain is available, but in image compression method, digital cosine transform and digital discrete wavelet transform is better result. The algorithm embedded the watermarking of the image to provide combination of DCT and DWT. The digital watermarking process protect the authenticity of the actual image data. This is calculate various values such as signal to noise ratio and mean square error. We also test loading capacity and efficiency of the watermarking algorithm, and our test shows that a high imperceptibility, it has a high resistance from various common attacks like crop attack, analyzing with decreasing size and test image and adding visible disturbance in regular light frequency of image. First of all, sending the hard copies by post may soon be think of the past, and then internet is used of digital formation of data, means 1010. Lots of images that are very available on internet are not watermarked. It becomes very easy for anyone to download this image and alter them. This could cause the loss of original creator's right over his image. the problem of protecting multimedia information becomes more and more important. So the solution of digital watermarking. Two of the most widely used ways are connoted the purpose of watermarking digital imagery is DCT and DWT. In this type of technique, we convert common background from local domain, then keeping the visible, the person in mind, and frequency value of the structure are grouped together into various priorities. Thereafter, frequency value is adjusted, include the watermark detail. DCT is the process convert a local domain into its frequency element represented by a set of coefficient. Its coefficient, frequencies values coefficient. These transformations are member of real value discrete sinusoidal unitary transform. Advantage of this DWT wavelet is HVS much closer than discrete cosine transform. Discrete wavelet that converts digital image into mathematical formula that converts image from a specific domain into common domain. This is the implementation of our watermarking technique. First, we take the original image. Original image means RGB image, and then it's converted in 3-level DWT. And after output of DWT, we apply it in the discrete cosine transform. Discrete cosine transform. After output of DCT, we used which watermark is used. So we embedded this DCT and watermark in embedding process, and then it's an inverse transform, inverse discrete cosine transform, inverse discrete wavelet transform, and then watermark image is there. Here watermark image, after watermarking embedded process at receiver side, if we extract the image, the next figure 2 is shown the extraction process, watermark image, then 3-level DWT use, and then DCT use, extracting the process and extracted the watermark image. Here data set we use the experimental result is the different types of original custom image data set is used. So in custom image, we easily identify which is the MSE, what is the PSNR. So this is the custom image we use. Experimental result, we can show this is the watermark image. In watermark image, we use the lower value. So we easily show in this image here watermark Kaushik. Easily we can see the watermark. Here is used point watermark. So this is watermark the image, and compare the different image processing using Gaussian noise attack. After watermark image, we attack various noise. So our result can see what is those it's useful or not. So original cover image, then watermark image. We embedded this both image, and after attack we can see an extracted watermark. So this is the attacked image and extracted watermark. So you can see the MSE means mean square error and PSNR peak signal to noise ratio 0.0185 and PSNR 40, 37, 42, 34 and 43. You can see this all the result in MSE and PSNR. Other image elephant, M, New, Paris, C, all the image you can see the MSE and PSNR. Second attack is image processing resize attack. We change the size of the image and we can see the MSE and PSNR. This is the resize attack image. Watermark is used to point, and then after attack and extracted watermark. Third is shows cropping effect. In cropping attack, we can see MSE, PSNR with different image, with all the image used in custom image. So experimental result, we have tested the combined DCT DWT watermarking algorithm on various original image with different watermark image. The robustness of DCT and DWT method after dividing the image is analyzed on manipulative mean square error and PSNR. Similarly, indexed after editing watermark and resize and crop. This is the result of MSE and PSNR. MSA, noise, probe, and resize. We can see the noise mean square error is lower. In one is here in 6 image, noise is more, and then other is a normal below 0.1. And this is the peak signal to noise ratio in probe and resize effect and noise effect. We can see the all the image in noise, probe, and resize. Peak signal to noise ratio is higher. One image is 6 number image is lower region. So conclusion of discrete cosine wavelet and the discrete wavelet transform is used continuously over many years in watermarking image. So integrated use of DCT and DWT watermarking algorithm, we eliminate the downfall of both method and watermarking embedded interaction of these two approach is better than individual result. So combination of DCT and DWT has found effectively in combination of various attacks such as precise probing and Gaussian noise. So all the tests we can see here high peak signal to noise ratio and lower mean square error. All the properties also that built algorithm is powerful way to making watermarking that helps embedded extract watermarking from image may be affected by attacks by above. So application this is hiding the data protection, broadcasting monitoring, medical application, fingerprint, and data authentication. So the same algorithm may be applied automatic onto digital media like audio, text, GIF, and video. This method can be further improved by reducing the processing time. And this is the reference. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Kaushik,
Yes, sir.
have you referred any previous methods of implementing DCT and DWT algorithm for your proposed work?
I have referred individual discrete cosine transform and discrete wavelet transform. Yes, I have used, I have applied DCT and DWT individual. So the result of DCT and DWT is lower peak signal to noise ratio, individual DCT and DWT, and MSA in mean square error is high. So comparison of this combination of both DCT and DWT.
Okay.
Sir, with regards to your paper, your combination of DCT, DWT, how do you find this one as a innovative solution to your project? Your combination of DCT, DWT, how do you find this one as an innovative solution to your project?
Okay, innovative solution.
Yes.
Because there is no limit in watermarking process. Because if we used our image is different, like I have used a custom image. So image by image, because of the size of image is different. What is my application? Because application wise, we change our algorithm and result maybe change application wise because of hiding of data. But which kind of data? Suppose I have used the image, but image size of 22 to 256 cross 256 or 1024 cross 1024. At that time, the changes of evolution time and result may be changed.
Okay. Like you evaluated two parameters, minimum square error and PSNR. Are there any parameters which you have analyzed for the successful completion of the project?
Not here, sir. Pardon, sir.
Only these two parameters you have evaluated. Are there any more parameters?
Sir, I have used only this 10 image. Standard data set is 10. Standard data set, there is a better result from custom image, but standard data set I have not used. Suppose Lena in image processing, in Lena image or point image, result is better. But we have not used this standard data set because real-time application we have used in custom image. So custom image we got result better than individual method.
Now my question is about MSC and PSNR. Only these two parameters you have evaluated.
Okay.
Is there any more parameters you have evaluated? Like you say, okay, this particular algorithm, or maybe you say this particular method is the best one. Only these two parameters you have evaluated, or any more parameters?
Now more parameter is available, sir. But I have used today MSC and PSNR. There is other parameters. We can compare this with time and peak signal to noise ratio. Other parameter also available, sir. But I have used only two parameters. In future, maybe I have compared this other parameters, maybe 3-4 parameters, and then publish various steps.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Sir, since it is past 1 o'clock, we shall have lunch break. And remaining paper presentation will be continued in the session 3 at 2:30. So using the same link, we can rejoin at 2:30 and we shall continue with the remaining papers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And a small information for the participants. Feedback form has been placed in chat box. You can give the feedback, and it is mandatory to give the feedback. Please do give your valuable feedback right now. Thank you.